What a beauty it is. Man, it's hard to figure out how this whole weather thing works out. I just finished having a 10-day vacation. A couple of my really good friends from Minnesota came up, and they're helping me get a mountain goat across the bay. Look at the beautiful night it is. Across the bay from me, I drew the coveted mountain goat tag in one of the units in the Kenai Mountains, which are behind me in the picture, looking off our deck here. And we got, just at the very beginning of the trip, we got a day and a half of nice weather, and we went up sight unseen, because I had seen goats up there right before. We went up sight unseen, and my friends are farmers. They're from the flatland prairies of western Minnesota, and boy, they were busy crawling up and down their grain bins and their legs that go up to where they pull their grains down from bin to bin. So they were crawling up and down vertical, trying to get height, trying to get in shape. Was it enough? You'll have to see. The goat hunt is a saga. It's still going on because we got socked in with bad wind and rain and clouds for about the next 6 or 7 days. We had to come down off the mountain because of that, because we couldn't see, because we ran out of water, and the goat hunt turned into a bear hunt. So my friend Wayne brought up his brand new Christensen Arms 6.5 Creedmoor, and we tested her out on the bears. And so that's going to be my next few stories here, is the bears that we got. We're going to start out with one of them in this episode. The first bear, and then we have a second bear, and then we have a third bear, and we have a halibut charter in there where we caught a lot of halibut and rockfish, lots of adventure. But a couple days ago, I had to send my friends home. I was sorry to see them go because, as many people know, the mountain goat hunt is the hardest hunt there is. The country is rugged, steep, straight up and down, vertical. You have to climb several thousand feet to get up to where they are. Packing them down is a whole nother story, especially when it's rainy and muddy, and it hasn't happened yet. But I have more friends coming to help. I have another month to get her done. So in the meantime, I'm going to share with you the stories of the bear hunts that we got done. Stay tuned here, and I hope you enjoy them. One of the last videos I made was a Alaska bear hunting compilation, and in that Audrey shot this beautiful big black bear. This was the fall of 2019, and this very cool picture somehow got deleted from my video. So I wanted to add it at the beginning of this video as kind of a teaser to what we're doing here, and then we'll get going on our story. This particular photo was taken from the canoe with my dog Sam on a scouting adventure. This would have been about 6 weeks ago, the first time we climbed the mountain. But you get to see the mountains we're looking at here. They're extremely steep, extremely rugged. The face we're looking at is pretty much unhuntable. If you saw a goat there, you wouldn't be able to get it. You'd have to get it on the other side to have a chance at being able to shoot it and recover it. But that's a look at part of what our unit looks like. So meet my friends Wayne and Lauren from western Minnesota. I've been hunting white-tailed deer and pheasants and ducks and geese with these guys since the late 1980s. They're terrific friends, and they come all the way from Minnesota to help me try and get this goat and help get it down the mountain. Uh, help with all aspects. Wayne brought his gun, which shoots very good at long range, up to 600 to 700 yards, and of course they're acting as my gun bearers. They're carrying the gun up the hill for me. We're kidding around about me being the royalty and them the peasantry, and of course they're laughing at that and saying, "Just wait, I'm gonna get you." Uh, but yeah, they're good friends and they're here to help and not really even hunt. Although later on in the trip, we're hoping to get Wayne a good black bear. Stay tuned. We're stopping here on one of our many, many, many breaks. The guys will laugh when they see this. Uh, they're doing good. They're doing as good as anybody could ask for, but there's no amount of crawling up and down grain bins that's going to prepare you for going up this steep vertical mountain. And I won't name any names, but by this time somebody has been throwing up, and both are stopping for numerous breaks. We've all got 50-pound packs, uh, and we're carrying up our camping gear and everything we need for the whole hunt. And it's just really taxing on the body. It's more than a guy. We're three guys in our 50s. It's more than most guys in their 50s would even think of trying. And yeah, here we are toughing it out and doing it in the midst of our bodies screaming to stop, and retching our guts out and everything else. Um, yeah, here we are stopping for a break. I asked the guys to help me document this. And so you understand, we don't have a videographer. We're lucky if we can be sharp enough to keep all our phones charged. We don't have a video camera. We've got 3 cell phones. We've got solar chargers. We've got extra battery packs. But we're all kind of working really hard, and we've got all we can do just to get our asses up this mountain. And so it's not our first instinct to be recording and documenting the whole thing. But here Wayne puts on a happy face after having, I think, thrown up his guts. He puts on a happy face and takes a selfie of us. And it's not too long after this that I realize it's going to take the entire day to get up this hill if I keep waiting for my friends. And so I took the heavy gun. I think the gun weighs 12, 14 pounds. I took the heavy gun and the spotting scope and everything I needed to pull off a goat kill by myself, and took off up the mountain to set up my camp, and expected them to come up behind me as soon as they could, and we'd get together at that time. I thought I would show you what Wayne's gun looks like. So he brought this up with him on the airplane. He plans to use this long range shooting for white-tailed deer and mule deer back in the lower 48 in the west, and so forth. And they did really good previously, shooting 3 nice muley bucks last year with my friend Lauren's 6.5 Creedmoor. So Wayne was banging the gong with it at 700 yards prior to coming to Alaska, and he was going to coach me through shooting the mountain goat at long range if we needed to. But the plan was to try to get close. On a side note, I'm building my own long range gun. It's a 338 Win Mag with a high-end Vortex scope on it. And that'll be another video down the line that I'll share that with you. But that's in the works as well. And so here I go up the mountain with Wayne's gun, going to look for a goat. And now I've reached the top. I've already picked the spot, the flattest spot I could find, and I've set up my tent, and I've gone up another 200 to 300 feet above that. And as I was setting up my tent, far, far, far below in the distance, I could hear expletives coming from Wayne and Lauren. Uh, it's very steep. It's all fours. You're on your hands and your feet, and you're crawling, and you're scratching and clawing, and you got thick rawhide gloves on, and you're pulling your way up through the Devil's Club and the Pushki and the alders, trying to get up, and you lose your grip or you slip and slide down the hill, and it's just infuriating when you're so exhausted. And you look up and wonder if it's ever going to end. Well, I've already been up the hill a couple times, and so I know. Um, uh, Lauren and Wayne are several hundred yards below me, but it's straight up, and I know it's going to take them a couple more hours. And so, with camp set up, I head on up the hill and begin looking for goats as I go further and further up. So the prior video is, the prior photo was looking down at the bay that we came up from. And this photo is looking down the steep, jagged cliffs. And believe me, if you shot a goat right there on that rock in front of you, it would roll 1,500 feet downhill into the alders, and you'd have no choice but go all the way back to the bottom and come up that creek drainage and try to come up from below and find the goat in the alders. And it's just not something I would do. Uh, I definitely am committed to picking a place where I can shoot the goat safely and recover it for certain without having the meat and the horns and everything else be ruined. Uh, and so you see looking down into the creek valley between, and then the opposite side is also part of my unit, but so steep, so rugged, so vertical that that side is pretty much unhuntable. The only way you'd get a goat over there would be if you caught one up on the top. So there's a knife ridge in front of me, and that knife ridge, we're going to find out tomorrow, is too treacherous, too dangerous to cover. But we've looked everywhere for water, and those snow patches across from us appear to be the closest water. And we know at some point during our hunt we're going to have to get over there and either find some running water, or we're going to have to go ahead and melt it and fill our containers and bring it back to camp. So, but again, you see the beautiful basin. I know there's mountain goats that are using this. I've seen them. They're just not here today. This is more of the steep, rugged terrain that we're looking down on. Every time you walk 10 yards, you come around another little fold in the mountain, and you look to see if there's a goat there. They bed in the most peculiar, hidden, out-of-the-way places. This is how you stand and look at a mountain from a distance, and you watch it all day long, and there's no goat. And then suddenly a goat appears. Well, they come out of crevices, they come out of caves, they come out of folds in the rock that you can't see when you're looking flat against it. But if you got at a different angle, you might see one peeking out from behind there. This sort of just shows the folds in the rock where the goats like to hide. So this shows the knife ridge from the opposite side. The side I've been showing you is the side where I would never shoot a goat, but the side we're looking at right now, it's completely doable. If you shot a goat on that knife ridge, most likely he would roll down 300, 400, 500 feet in elevation to the bottom of the basin, and there you would recover him and go ahead and butcher him and carry him down. And that's the plan if we did shoot a goat in this basin. Now, a lot has transpired, but I wanted to show you that Lauren and Wayne did make it up the hill. Uh, Wayne was really struggling and tired, and so he went to bed. And Lauren regrouped, cooked himself some mountain house, and came on up the hill to look for me. I was probably 500 or 600 feet up above camp, and by then I had already run into some action, which I will tell you about shortly. This is a picture of Lauren hiking on the knife ridge. He and I went across about halfway, and at two different points we tried to slide down but got cliffed out. But what we were trying to do was find a route over to the snow patch where we could melt some water to bring back to camp. And what wound up happening was that we realized we were going to have to give up 500 or 600 feet of elevation and then go up another massive steep hill in order to get the water, and then come all the way back down, climb back up the steep side we were on, and then roll back down to camp, only to get socked in with weather, with 30-mile-an-hour winds and rain and fog and clouds for the next 3 days. And so we elected to get up and look for goats the next morning. And when no goats presented themselves, we packed up camp and went ahead and went down the hill, and planned to come back to hunt another day. And this is a picture of our little camp. It's probably not as flat as it looks. All three of us spent the night waking up, finding ourselves on the downhill side of our tent, using our legs to push ourselves back uphill again, and then getting leg cramps from dehydration and very, very tired, worn out leg muscles. But nonetheless, as good as we could find up there with the energy that we had, and a completely amazing, gorgeous lookout. So, does the Creedmoor work on a bear? You better believe it works. On the way up to the goat area where I've been seeing the goats, before Wayne and Lauren were still a couple hours down the hill, I ran into a bear. The bear came over the hill. There was many bears up there feeding on the blueberries. And the bear came over the hill and was coming toward me, and I hit the deck, and I sat and watched the bear for about 15 minutes, and the bear kept coming toward me closer and closer and closer, and it really looked to be a good-sized bear. And after a hike like that, and knowing that I was still on the back side of the area where the goats would be, and that they would probably never hear me shoot, even if they were there. I'm an Alaskan resident. I have three bear tags in my pocket, and you can't look a gift horse in the mouth. I'm going to either spook out this big black bear, or I'm going to take the big black bear. I know Wayne is still probably an hour or two down the hill, and this bear is going to be gone by then. And so I go ahead and line him up. I take and put the crosshairs high in the shoulder, where I'm sure to get lungs, but also break down the shoulders. Shot the bear, and he rolled up in a ball and rolled down the hill about 150 yards. And I quick jumped up and ran to the edge of the hill and looked down. And by the time I got there, the bear was already at the base of the hill, and he was laying still, not even moving. I covered him and watched him for several minutes, and realized that this bear was completely down and dirty. One shot from the 6.5 Creedmoor with 143 or 143 grain bullet at about 40 to 50 yards. Did a wonderful number on this bear. And so with Lauren's help, I went ahead and skinned this bear. harvested the meat, took the skull and the skin, and packed it back up to camp. So here's the last picture. As the sun is setting, I'm getting ready to skin this bear, harvest the meat, get it all in my pack, and haul it up the hill, and then back down the hill to the camp. Uh, it's a beautiful night. It's a beautiful sunset. I'm super happy to have a bear. Um, Lauren and I have seen as many as 11 or 12 other bears, and several of them right in the same vicinity. So we know we haven't really spooked any game away. This bear was shot in a little basin, and the noise has just stayed right there. And so here we go back to camp. We're going to get a good night's sleep. We're going to wake up in the morning, and we're going to take a look and find that we've got just enough water to each have a drink and have breakfast. We go up the hill and look, and there's no goats anywhere within sight. We know we've got bad weather coming in, and so we go back to camp and pack everything up and head on down the hill to get back to the boat and get back home. So here's where we completely quit documenting. It started raining, it started blowing. I've got a 100-pound pack on my back. The guys are compensating for my gear, for my having the bear meat and the skin and the hide and the skull in my pack. They're compensating with my gear. They've got the heavy stuff. They've got the gun. They've got the spotting scopes. They've got some of my extra gear. We've all got big, heavy packs, and it's raining, and the slope is steep, 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 and it's getting more and more slick and wet and muddy as we go. And you literally cannot stand up anymore. There's no point in even trying. And so what do? We slide down on our butts. And we slide on our butts for the first third of the hill, just getting down to the point where you can actually walk again. And in doing so, you can see what happened to my pants. The pants are shredded. My underwear was shredded. You can start to imagine what happened to the skin on my posterior. We got down the hill halfway to where we could start walking, and this is where we started to take tumbles, falling down on our sides and our arms and our hips and so forth. And it was just so taxing that nobody was in any mood to pull out a phone and take a picture or take a video. It was just plain awful. And so we got down to the bottom of the hill. We got to the water. Everybody drank 2 or 3 bottles of water and started getting rehydrated. We got home and got hot showers, and got back to the comfort of our home and our warmth and our beds, and spent a day or two recuperating. And so this is the story of the goat hunt saga, and this is the story of the first bear. There's 2 more bear hunts to come, and of course keeping an eye on the goats, and building a rifle and going out and catching lots of halibut. So please stay tuned for the next videos I'll be making, um, and more stories and more goat hunting to come, I promise. So stay tuned.